The Hamish and Andy Show podcast. Powered by Amy. Lucky you're with Amy.
Right. It's time to get down to business. With your help, Hamish and Andy are covering off on every topic in the world. And right now, there is no topic more important than
the Beatles.
Before you do a skerrick of work today, make sure you know all there is to know about
The Beatles.
Oh.
When we talk business, we talk...
Hey, we're the Beatles.
I'm Peter Harvey. This is Hamish and Andy's Business Brunch, and business starts... now.
Hey, groovy man.
Good morning, everyone. Hamish and Andy's Business Brunch. Yes, today is all about the Beatles, Ham. One topic per day we do on this show, and today the topic has been pulled out of the giant hat, being the Beatles. Some people are saying we're wasting up one of the good ones early.
Well, you've got to do some good, you've got to do some bad. It would have been a shame if the Beatles were the 27 trillionth topic.
Yeah.
Because unless medical technology pulls its finger out and starts making us a more Orlando, we might not even be around for the last show. So good that we get the Beatles done while we're still here to do it.
On this day, Ham, April 4th, 1964, the Beatles occupied the top 5 positions on the Billboard Hot 100.
Right.
Imagine that in the kind of a Hot 30 countdown.
Hasn't happened since Gaga.
Just Beatles. See if you can name one of them.
1964? Probably not Sgt. Pepper's. It wasn't up to that. Probably just a bit of Love Me Do.
Love Me Do. Twist and Shout was one of them. She Loves You. Can't Buy Me Love.
Yellow Submarine.
No. Also, Please Please Me. Yeah, that song.
Please Please Me.
Okay. No, that's it.
There's a fair chance that's how it goes. I bet there's a long vowel in there.
I'd love to do a little bit of a kind of stats on how many bands were actually around at the time.
Do you know what? I thought I was I did that thing where I was like, Beatles, man, they're cool. They're immortal, you know?
Yeah.
And I bought that big black box set.
Oh, wow.
And it's got all their albums in it. And because there's like 200 songs in there. And realised as I was loading them onto my iTunes, I was like, you know what? I think I'm a singles guy.
Just like the singles?
I think I'm just more of like Sgt. Pepper's, the White Album, and then just singles.
Straight.
I don't know these other songs. Some of them aren't that good.
There, he said it.
Well, you've got to be fair. I mean, just because we're doing it as a topic doesn't mean you get a free ride to the Beatles. You still got to work hard. You still got a gig.
Someone who didn't get a free ride, Ham,
was John Lennon right at the end.
No, was a certain airport.
Yeah.
And you and I have to discuss it straight after this on the Business Brunch.
Right at the end of the court.
One topic at a time. We go through, we thoroughly examine it, and then we archive them, Ham. And slowly we've moved from one filing cabinet to another as we hit the Beatles today.
Once we've finished doing all the topics in the world, we will host a show called Questions. And then people will call up and go, I've got a question about the Beatles. And he will go, one moment, please. He'll pat on down to our archive. He'll pull out the CD, dust it off, and we can listen back to this show and find the answer. Because that's how thoroughly we'll discuss it.
It's true.
Worth noting, and we probably have to touch on the fact that in 1964, the Beatles came to Australia. Beatlemania took hold in Australia. Company man Chris Holland has written in, and he said, a little remembered fact about the mass hysteria in 1964 was that it was not Tullamarine that the Beatles touched down at in Melbourne.
Also known as Melbourne Airport.
They flew into Melbourne. They didn't touch down at the main airport in Melbourne. They touched down at the ancillary airport, Essendon Airport, still there to this day.
Yeah.
I think used for more small planes, light planes. He says, just repping for the oft-neglected Essendon Airport, the rightful king of airports, and home to the Beatles for several minutes.
Do you think this guy's associated with Essendon Airport in any way?
He hasn't filled out the city/town field in the email submission form, but I feel I don't even need to ask. I feel company man Chris might live near Essendon Airport, but it doesn't matter because that is a fact I wasn't aware of.
No.
I probably thought they'd touched down at least one of the major international airports. It occurred to me, and it occurred to you, that we feel a bit bad about this. I mean,
Yeah, right.
This is probably something that Essendon Airport wears as a bit of a chip on its shoulder.
Yeah.
I mean, it should be a very proud thing. It should be home of the Beatles. That's how we should know Essendon Airport. But instead, we don't know it as that.
No.
It's never recognised as home of the Beatles.
Most people don't even know it.
Liverpool's probably recognised as home of the Beatles. We thought, let's give them the call this morning, and in case there is any bad blood, just let them know that we're on their side. We salute Essendon Airport as the landing spot of the Beatles.
They've been waiting for this call.
Now, do we want to speak to the head of Essendon?
Good morning, Essendon Newport. Michelle speaking.
G'day, Michelle. It's Hamish and Andy here from radio's #1 morning topic-based radio show, The Business Brunch. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you, Hamish.
Oh, good. Company man Andy joins me as well.
Yes, I'm here. We're ringing about the thing that Essendon Airport have been pretty upset about for some time.
What would you say Essendon Airport is most famous for throughout history?
Well, it used to be the first airport in Melbourne.
Even more famous than that, though.
The Beatles came here.
No, the Beatles! Yes! Number two. We're discussing the Beatles this morning, and company man Chris. Is there a guy called Chris Holland that works at the airport?
Not in our office here.
You've got a friend in Chris Holland.
I think he's more just an airport enthusiast.
He's one of your biggest fans.
Yeah.
Not often you find an airport fan, but he's a big fan of Essendon Airport because he's written into us and just wanted to remind everyone that the Beatles touched down at Essendon, not at Tullamarine. Do you find some people sometimes think it was Tullamarine, the other airport?
Yeah, they certainly do. They forget that this airport was the airport before Melbourne Airport or Tullamarine.
So was in 1964 when the Beatles came out, was Melbourne Airport an option for them and they chose Essendon, or was it the only option?
No, it was the only option.
Yeah, right.
But it's a bit annoying that Essendon then comes the younger brother. Tullamarine comes in as the younger brother, the newer flavour.
The ugly stepsister.
The ugly stepsister, New on the scene. Technically younger, maybe uglier, flexing its muscles, going, we've got maybe more runways, and steals the fame.
Well, yes, that's exactly what happened.
Well, we wanted to this morning give 3 cheers to Essendon Airport. Hip, hip, hooray! Hip, hip, hooray! Hip, hip, hooray! As a gesture from our show to your airport, that ye shall not be forgotten.
Oh, thank you very much.
Home of the Beatles. It's
How does
our
that feel?
pleasure.
Thank you, guys.
How does that feel?
Fantastic.
Yeah, I thought so.
Yep.
Okay, great. Thank
We'll
you.
send you a
Thanks,
pencil
guys.
as well.
Yeah, we will send you a
Thanks
pencil.
so much.
Send you out a pencil to fill out the departure forms. Although you have to
No
use
problem.
You have to use a pen, so maybe not. Okay, thank you so much.
Have a great one,
You
guys.
too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
That feels good, doesn't
Just
it?
righting some wrongs. While North Korea goes to the absolute doghouse, at least you and I are setting some things straight in this world.
Let's ring them and give them 3 cheers.
Okay.
So much correspondence. HamishNetty.com/topics is the way into this show.
Yep.
Your avenue. So much correspondence. You get to Fast Biz.
Fast Biz, top 3. Number 3.
Number 3.
Hey, company man Mark Kopak says, I feel sorry for Pete Best. The original drummer of the band, the Beatles. He must surely be the unluckiest band member of all time, kicked out before they became the biggest band of all time.
If you're going to have a surname like Best, and then you get usurped, it adds even more salt to the wound, especially if you get usurped by a guy that's called Star, and then goes on to be not the star of the band.
Hey, do you feel that if Jack could quickly track down his number, he would love 3 cheers? So hip, hip.
It worked for us in an airport. Well, just 3 quick cheers for Pete Best. Hip, hip, hooray, hip, hip, hooray. Sorry we laughed through your cheers.
Number 2.
And this comes in from company man David McKay.
Okay.
Let me preface this with 2 things. Number 1, I love all our company men and women.
Yeah.
As a rule. It can never be disputed. Number 2, I would never call one of them a liar.
Okay.
But I think there's elements of David McKay's story that might be enjoying some enhanced imagination.
Okay.
So he goes, he's 15, he writes in, so music one day at a previous school, so already you're like, you can't check up on this. Our teacher had a DVD called The Beatles' Greatest Hits. And it turns out the whole DVD was of the animal, the beetle, fighting each other. Apparently it's a real sport in Japan. Here's a YouTube link. You click on it. Rhino beetles do battle each other in Japan. And he goes, so interesting class. So a bit of he's going, it is a sport, and you've given a YouTube link, and well done, and that it's interesting because I didn't know that was a sport. I don't know if the music teacher ignored the probable picture of Beatles fighting each other on the cover of the DVD, and even if they had missed that sign, and they missed the opening credits and flashes of Beatles fighting each other, I don't know if they would have stuck around with the DVD long enough to find out that the whole DVD is of Animal, the beetle, fighting itself.
Are you suggesting that he's A lie.
I would never say that about one of our company men or women. It would have been an interesting class.
Number 1.
Hey, this comes from company man John Lennon.
Oh, welcome back.
Aged 81, city/town heaven.
Oh.
Okay.
It was interesting you keep aging.
Yeah. Yeah.
His age didn't just stop on
Well, I
that
suppose-
sad day.
Maybe he looks the same, but he'd still celebrate a birthday or whatever.
Would you?
Well,
Probably
yeah, it's
celebrate your
fun.
death day in heaven. It's the day you got born into heaven. I don't know what the rules are.
Normally not normally your favourite day when you die. I mean, to have to relive that to go, oh, that's great.
You wouldn't reenact it.
No.
You don't reenact your birth. I did it once, and Mum was like, this has been a disaster.
But hey, he writes, hey guys, I'm John Lennon.
Cool.
I've been dead for a while now, and I had a chat with God, and he's let me out for a bit just to flick this
It's
email.
not jail. The pearly gates aren't locked from the inside.
So, he hasn't made problem. But what he says, I'm just emailing you to let you know that if I were to be given a business brunch mug, I could use its magical powers to bring George back from the dead as well, and then do a Beatles reunion tour. All the best, Johnny. Now, let's have a look at the cold hard facts here.
Okay.
Before
I don't dispute any of the emails so far, but when we get asked for mugs, that's when alarm bells ring, because we've got less than 40 mugs left, and we've got
The facts.
trillions of shows to go.
the facts, right? A Beatles world tour would be a sellout if those two had come back from the
Okay,
dead.
interesting. You started with the positives?
Yeah, so I certainly would book my ticket. And I think it would be fair to say it would be somewhat of a global phenomenon.
It'd be great.
Yeah.
Especially
Having
when
said
you,
that-
when you can see Michael Gudinski and a magical mug present the Beatles live in concert. Yeah.
I am a bit worried, though, that this won't happen and they're going to steal a mug from us.
Okay,
But
interesting. Why do you think that?
I'd like to leave it in your hands. You know the mug god better than I do.
Yep. This is a classic face-off between God
Yeah.
of people,
Yeah.
commonly referred to just as God or the God,
Yeah.
and the mug God.
The mug god, yeah.
Now, in the Bible, you get battles between the bad God, the devil,
yeah.
and the good God, God. It's not really for me to say, because when God, the normal God, asks the mug God for a mug, that's a direct diss to the mug God, because it's God going against one of the mug God's commandments,
Yeah,
which is you shall never ask for a
for a
mug.
mug.
So I don't know if the mug God is listening to the show today. I know he's got many things to do, but I wonder no way, no. The mug God was listening. And he has just yelled, no way. And I think we leave it there.
Hamish and Andy's business brunch.
Thank you.
Company lady Kaylee emailed in and she says, I really, and she's put that in capitals, Sam, I really get annoyed with the Beatles because they get compared to One Direction.
No.
1D
We had a lot of this.
1D are a trillion times better.
a lot.
And at least you can watch 1D in colour, unlike the Beatles.
She raises a very good point, doesn't
yeah,
she?
yeah.
1D are very famous for being in colour. Complete colour. When they're out in Australia, I mean, we saw them at the Logies last year.
And they were in colour.
3D.
Yeah. It was, yeah. In the flesh they were 3D. On
completely
your screen,
three-dimensional.
On your screens, probably not, but definitely colour. She raised a good point, and it's a fine point, Carly, because when obviously there was that High Court case when they were discussing who was better, One Direction or the Beatles.
True. I mean, we were going for One Direction.
Yeah.
I personally, I'm gooey for Louis. I think he's a great kid.
The prosecution, acting on behalf of One Direction, I think,
They were gunning pretty hard against the Beatles, weren't they?
and they used Kaylee's exact point.
Order! Order! The prosecution. Paul McCartney is your witness.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this is an open and shut case. Paul McCartney, can you let us know what colour you were in 1963?
Well, what do you mean?
Would the answer be black and white? Look at this footage!
Well, no, we were in colour It's just that it was recorded that way.
Mr. McCartney, speak when spoken to. You're already well and above your head, son. Moving along. Are you aware that One Direction have nearly 11 million Twitter followers?
Well, no, I wasn't, but that's good for them, I suppose.
And at the height of your fame, exactly how many Twitter followers did the Beatles have?
Well, Twitter wasn't...
Would the answer be 0? These aren't popular.
Again, Twitter was created in 2006, and Lennon died in 1980.
Oh, and I was a pig in 1991. Who cares? We don't need any more evidence, but just in case we do, let's take a moment to listen to One Direction and assess the power of their classic hits.
Well, actually, that's one of our songs that they were singing.
Ooh, so you're claiming it's a Beatles song, are you? I remind you, you're under oath.
Well, yes, yeah, it is.
So you admit to stealing a One Direction song?
No, we performed that in 1967.
He steals songs, everyone! Burn him! Yeah, burn him.
Oh, I don't think that's necessary.
You're the one that wanted a witch hunt, Mr. McCartney!
No, I said it specifically wasn't a witch hunt.
Witch! Burn him!
International Biz from Niall has come in from Cork and Ireland. He said, help, I need somebody, da-da-da-da. He was obviously referencing the Beatles song, but then Beatles jigsaw robbery.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. He said he was living with one of his best mates in college last year. They decided to do a jigsaw of the Beatles, Sgt. Pepper's album cover.
Great fun.
Yeah.
Take the day off class.
Yeah. The jigsaw, which he'd like to point out that he chose, was purchased and went down a storm. Everyone in the house loved it.
People joining in, yelling, there's a corner, there's a corner. Do the corners, do the edges.
This is where it gets tricky, so I want to hear it from the man himself joining us from Ireland, international business company man, Niall. Thanks for doing business with us, Niall.
Oh, well, lads, how are you getting on?
Yeah.
Very good, Niall. Very good. Sorry to hear, I mean, I assume it's a tale of woe with the puzzle because the start of the email certainly seemed to hint at bad things happening to this puzzle. But let's go back to the glory days of the puzzle first. How many pieces was it?
Oh, I think it was around 1,000 pieces or something like that.
Grand.
It was a nightmare. Like, you know, we spent ages. Well, he spent most of the time doing it. I will say that I only did 10% of the work. I will give him 90%.
He did 90% of the legwork, but you did pay 100% of the price here. Now, when we say he, who's the other party in this?
My best mate from college, Shane.
Shane. So what happened after it was completed?
I came back one Monday after the weekend, and it was like no jigsaw. I was like, man, what's going on here? He was like, oh yeah, I took it away there for the weekend for my uncle to frame it.
Yeah.
and a worthy thing to frame.
Yeah. And and how long has it been missing? Did it come back framed?
It was. Well, I never saw it again after that.
Oh no! Class. That's what happened actually when Da Vinci took the Mona Lisa to get framed. A Frenchman nicked it, and he just popped it in the Louvre. You've got to be careful when works of art go to get framed.
Well, Niall, have you ever asked Shane where it is?
Oh, 100 times. It was a year ago, and I keep bringing it up, and he keeps avoiding the topic. Like, he'll just start reminiscing about other things we did when we lived together.
Remember the time we did the cover of the White Album? That was tricky, wasn't it?
All right, we've got Shane's number. You've given it to us. Let's call him now. Let's make sure he can't reminisce. Oh, here he goes.
All right, this is it. Time to get some answers here, Niall.
You sit quiet, Niall.
Thank you.
Shane.
Hi.
It's Hamish and Andy here from Australia.
Hi, how's it going?
Yeah, very good, mate. Look, we're members of the International Puzzle Detective Agency, just trying to chase down a Sgt. Pepper's album cover puzzle that was completed about a year ago and then went missing.
Well, missing is a very strong word. Reappropriated it, I think, would be more accurate.
All right. Well, we're not going to reveal the person who's come to us to try and look into this investigation. Shane, do you know the whereabouts of the puzzle now?
It's currently residing in my house, and it should remain there for some time.
Oh. What would you say to a claim that someone else owns that puzzle, Shane?
Well, I feel like a disenfranchised worker here. Niall is kind of the capitalist fat cat, if you will, and I'm the workforce.
So he's injecting all the money into the puzzle, but it was your sweat, your hard graft, your true Irish grit that completed that puzzle?
I mean, I built it with my bare hands. I mean, like, it would have been very difficult to wear gloves to do a puzzle, but yeah.
Niall is also on the line. Shane, I know that's probably a shock to you, but it is Niall that has
this is like a very, very low-level Jerry Springer based around the theft of a $12 puzzle.
Niall, what do you say to the fact that Shane does have it at his house and he's not giving it back to the corporate fat cat that is you?
I'm good at it. I did the drum, man. I did the main part of it.
You did the drum had writing on it. It was very easy to do. I did the entire floral, like all of the roses, all the trees, leaves, anonymous faces. Nah.
Okay,
Forget about it.
I love you, man.
I mean, you can have our child. You can have our child back, but you're not getting the jigsaw.
If you've just tuned in, this is two Irish friends melting down over a worthy cause, a 1,000-piece Sgt. Pepper's album cover puzzle.
It's not going to be resolved today.
Bought by Niall, completed by Shane. The feud continues.
We've got to go to a song, guys.
Do you guys mind if we check in yearly to see where the feud's at?
I look forward to it.
Actually, we're not going to a song at all, Ham. It's the end of the show. That's what that music... Well, I suppose our backing music is a song.
Sometimes the backing music just starts up when it feels like we've got to a good point in an investigation, and that's it.
I'm going to stamp complete on the Beatles file, Ham.
Done.
That topic's done.
We've got our yearly check-in that we'll keep rolling over for the next few hundred years, but apart from that, we're done.
There's more topics at hamishnandy.com. Trampolines is in there. Catchphrases is coming up. There's plenty more. hamishnandy.com/topics. Go there, have a watch, have a look, and see if you can add lovely doing business with you. Have a great one.
That was the Hamish and Andy Show podcast, powered by Amy. Lucky you're with Amy.